All clean. Welcome to day 5 of Thank You Week. On day 5, I'm going to thank my dentist of the past 20 years, Cynthia Belden. Come on in the other room and I'll tell you why. Cindy was another woman who changed my life. I had kind of a checkered dental past. When I was little, growing up in San Francisco, I went to a dentist who was a friend of my mother's. He was actually the father of a friend of my mother's, and he was an old-fashioned dentist. This was in the 40s. He was an old-fashioned dentist who had a slow drill, who didn't believe in pain medication, who never took x-rays, and who yelled at you if you complained, even little kids. So when he finally retired, thank God, we started going to see another dentist who was great. He took x-rays, discovered I had 13 cavities that hadn't been picked up by the first dentist, but his equipment was so new and so modern I almost didn't mind going to see him. Then I got married and I was living in a different town, and we started going to a dentist with the unlikely name of Hercules Demosthenes Morphopoulos. Now Herc is still Walt's dentist. Walt's been going to him now for over 40 years. But when I was pregnant with Tom, which would make it about 1969, 1970, I had an appointment with Herc, and he yelled at me for not flossing my teeth. I mean, he really laid me out because I was going to lose my teeth, and he just gave me such a hard time that I felt so terrible about myself that I came home and decided I was never going to see another dentist ever again. And I didn't for over 20 years. At one point, I decided that my teeth were all going to fall out, so there was no point in brushing my teeth anymore. So I stopped brushing my teeth. And you can just imagine what that must have been like. I learned how to talk like this. I never smiled openly. I always found a way to cover my mouth. There were a whole bunch of foods that I couldn't eat. I remember one time I went on vacation with my mother, and she served corn on the cob. And I told her that I wasn't going to have any, and she knew that I liked corn on the cob. I couldn't pretend that I had an allergy to it like I did with one other friend. And so she assumed that because I wasn't having corn on the cob, I must be on a diet. So for the whole rest of the trip, she made only diet foods for me because obviously I was dieting. I couldn't bite into the damn thing. I learned how to eat my food by gumming it between my tongue and the soft palate of my mouth. Oh, it was horrible. Horrible, horrible. Pieces of my teeth broke off. I can remember sitting up one night, the third night, of excruciating pain with my teeth, and deciding if the pain didn't stop the next day, I would finally go to the dentist. But the pain did stop, so I didn't go to the dentist. But there came a time when I was convinced that my teeth were going to fall out. I had this humongous collection of plaque behind my front teeth, and it had cracked, and it was about ready to fall out, and I knew that when it fell out, my teeth were so rotted underneath that my teeth were going to fall out too. Well, I had met Cindy many years before. She was fresh out of dental school, and she came to work for the typing service that I was working for. And when I found out she was a dentist, oh God, you should have seen the contortions I used to go through. We would go out to lunch, and I would make sure that I didn't sit next to her because I knew she could look in my mouth and tell my terrible secret. And the whole group of us who worked for this typing service, we used to get together about once a month for dinners. And I always ate at the opposite end of the table because I didn't want Cindy to see me opening my mouth and putting food into my mouth. I mean, it was just, I think back on it now, it was so ridiculous. But I had come to this point where I knew my teeth were going to fall out. And so, being the chicken that I am, I wrote her a letter. And true confessions, I laid out everything. I explained everything. I explained why I stopped going to the dentist. I explained what my dental history had been over the past 20 years. Just everything. I was at work, and she called me, and I heard her voice, and I just went, my heart stopped. And all she said was, Bev, do you want an appointment? So I said, yes, I want an appointment. And bless her heart, she set an appointment for me at the very end of her day because, of course, I was going to leave her office with no teeth. I knew that. I was embarrassed to tell Walt So instead of telling him, I wrote him a letter and I put it in his lunch. I used to pack his lunch at that time. I put it in his lunch to warn him that when he came home at night, I would not have any teeth. Oh, you know, I've been seeing Cindy now for 20 years. So I was 40 at the time. Can you imagine what an idiot I was? Anyway, she was extremely, extremely gentle and kind with me. And we finally got to the point, she took all this information, and we finally got to the point where I had to open my mouth. She tells me later that she really wishes she had taken a picture of this plaque in my mouth, because it truly would have been in a medical journal someplace, but I was in no position for that at that time. And so she removed the plaque and looked at me and said, "Bev, the teeth under this are just fine." I went, "What?" Well, the teeth were loose because, you know, they'd had those plaque pressing up against them all this time. There was a lot of dental work that had to be done. I probably, over the course of the next year, put at least 2 of her children through college. But I discovered that there'd been a lot of advancement in the field of dentistry in the 20 years I hadn't gone. I have been seeing her 3 times a year for 20 years now, and I can truly say that I have almost never had a twinge of pain, even including root canal. And every single day, I am so grateful to her for her attitude, because it was more her attitude than anything else. She didn't put me down. She was just so good about the whole thing. She was so understanding and so kind and so gentle. And every time I eat a piece of corn on the cob or bite into an apple with all these teeth, which are all my own, I am so thankful that she was there. I don't know what I would have done if she hadn't been there, because it was the fact that she was a friend that gave me the courage to contact her when I thought I was losing my teeth. But she's been a really, really good friend over the years, and so I doubt if Cindy will ever see this. I doubt if I'll tell her that I made it, but thank you, Cindy. You saved my life, as I have told you on more than one occasion, and I am so incredibly grateful you were there when I needed you.